Is your magic meter running low? Well, we've got a cure for you. Welcome to Disney Coast to Coast.
Hey folks, and welcome to Disney Coast to Coast, the ultimate unofficial Disney fan podcast. I'm Jeff DePauli, and welcome to the House of Mouse headlines brought to you by laughingplace.com, your up-to-date resource for the latest Disney news every day of the week. This episode is being released on September 8th, 2021, and here's what's been going on in the world of Disney recently. Walt Disney World is overhauling its annual pass program, there's a renamed land in Walt Disney Studios Park in Paris, a new Disney Park special is coming to ABC, and more. It's all coming your way right after this. It's that time of year where a lot of you have probably thought about hanging up your Halloween decorations, if you haven't already. But don't just leave it to the look of your decorations, go all in and make sure your space is filled with spooky scents. Souvenir Scents can help Disney fans with their Ghostly Mansion candle and wax melts. Of course, their Ghostly Mansion scent is inspired by Disney's Haunted Mansion, so go ahead and bring a bit of the Haunted Mansion into your home with Souvenir Scents. You can save 10% off of anything you order on the site simply by using code DCTC at checkout. Just click on the Souvenir Scents link in this episode's description.
Hear the latest news from the Walt Disney Company in today's House of Mouse headlines.
One of Disneyland's most iconic group of performers have returned to Main Street, USA. The Dapper Dans resumed performances on September 3rd, with the Barbershop Quartet singing some Halloween songs to complement the beginning of Halloween time at the resort. This is the latest live entertainment offering to be reinstated at the Disneyland Resort, following returns for Five and Dime, the Bootstrappers, the Disneyland Band, and others. Performance times for the Dapper Dans can be found in the Disneyland app. With the Disneyland Resort's new Magic Key program making its official debut, an exclusive experience for key holders has now opened in Tomorrowland's Starcade. Inside, guests will find a Muppets Haunted Mansion photo op, distanced meet and greets with Mickey and Minnie, and more. Currently, this offering is operating from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. through October 30th. As mentioned, Halloween time is now underway at the Disneyland Resort. So, what better time to announce that the holidays at the Disneyland Resort will also be returning for 2021. From November 12th, 2021 through January 9th, 2022, the resort will celebrate the winter festivities with such favorites as a Christmas Fantasy Parade, which marks the return of a parade at Disneyland, the Believe in Holiday Magic Fireworks, It's a Small World Holiday, the Disney Festival of Holidays, the Disney Viva Navidad Street Party, and more. Plus, it's been announced that Mirabel from Walt Disney Animation Studios Encanto will begin appearing in the park later this year. So get ready for the Disneyland Resort to transform from spooky to snowy starting November 12th. Those looking for a place to relax and enjoy their meal along the rivers of America will be happy to hear that a new seating area is being prepared. Pelican's Landing, as it's to be called, will be an expansion of the Harbor Galley seating area that will now include a lower level next to a new dock. Construction walls teasing the arrival of the area are now up, while Harbor Galley continues to remain open. No firm debut date for Pelican's Landing has been announced just yet, but it is expected to arrive later this year. Following a few sailings since its return, the Disney Cruise Line is now making some changes to its vaccination and test requirements per the CDC. Starting September 3rd, all guests 12 and older must be fully vaccinated to sail to any destination. Guests 11 years of age and younger are not required, but must provide proof of a negative pre-trip PCR COVID-19 test. The exception to this is for the Panama Canal sailings, where all passengers, regardless of age, must be vaccinated, meaning that those under 12 will not currently be able to sail. Additionally, for all sailings starting September 13th until further notice, all guests, regardless of age and vaccination status, will need to take a COVID-19 test before boarding. For the latest on policies and procedures for the Disney Cruise Line, be sure to check their website or consult your travel agent. After multiple delays, the highly anticipated Space 220 restaurant now has an official opening date. The location that will take diners 220 miles into space will debut at Epcot on September 20th. However, at the time of recording, no announcement has been made about when reservations for the restaurant will become available. In any case, with the location ready to blast off in just a few weeks, be sure to keep your eye to the sky for more info, or the Disney Parks blog. In celebration of Walt Disney World's 50th anniversary, ABC will broadcast a new special. The Most Magical Story on Earth, 50 Years of Walt Disney World, will premiere on the Alphabet Network on October 1st. The 2-hour event will be hosted by Disney legend Whoopi Goldberg and feature performances by Halle Bailey and Disney legend Christina Aguilera. Interestingly, there will also be a segment focusing on television shows that have filmed at the resort, with actors Anthony Anderson, John Stamos, Melissa Joan Hart, Candace Cameron Bure, and others looking back on their memories of the parks. For more on that topic, be sure to check out our Primetime at the Parks episodes of Disney Coast to Coast. Plus, it has been noted that former Disney CEO, and in my opinion the most important person when it comes to Walt Disney World development aside from Roy O. Disney, Michael Flippin' Eisner will be taking part in the special. I was beyond thrilled to read that detail. I think we'd all be okay if it started with a classic, "Hello, I'm Michael Eisner, and welcome to the most magical story on Earth." We can all dream, can't we? Of course, there will also be much more in store for this special, so be sure to catch the most magical celebration on Earth, 50 Years of Walt Disney World on ABC October 1st, streaming on Hulu the next day, or on Disney Plus later in October. Speaking of John Stamos and Disney Plus, the streamer has announced a renewal of the show Big Shot. Stamos will return as Coach Marvin Korn on the second season of the basketball dramedy. With the show set to resume production next year and no release date for Season 2 announced, if you haven't seen the show just yet, you'll have plenty of time to catch up on Season 1, streaming now on Disney+. In other Disney Plus news, the new animated film Diary of a Wimpy Kid now has a release date. The film, which was announced at the last Disney Investor Day, will debut on December 3rd. While Fox has previously adapted the popular book series for the big screen, as mentioned, this version will take an animated approach instead. At this time, not many other details about the project are known, but we'll surely learn more as December draws nearer. With Disney's Jungle Cruise surpassing $100 million at the domestic box office, the studio is now apparently working on a sequel to the film. According to The Hollywood Reporter, both Dwayne Johnson and Emily Blunt are set to reprise their roles, while co-writer Michael Green is also attached for the follow-up. If you've yet to take a ride on the attraction-inspired Jungle Cruise, you can hop aboard with Disney Plus Premiere Access right now, or wait until November 12th when the movie will be available to all Disney Plus subscribers. Continuing their efforts to bolster diversity and inclusion, the Walt Disney Company has launched a new digital destination, Reimagine Tomorrow, to amplify underrepresented voices and untold stories. This new site includes a look into the company's efforts for representation across the workplace, new content, and actions taking place across various communities. In a statement about the program, Walt Disney Company SVP and Chief Diversity Officer Latondra Newton said, "We're excited to introduce Reimagine Tomorrow, an effort that embodies Disney's long-standing commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts and shines a light on the scope of our aspirations." The Reimagine Tomorrow digital destination, which is accessible to our own employees, community partners, and fans, will evolve as we advance our efforts. Our intention is to make sure every person sees themselves or their life experiences represented in a meaningful way. Some of the most famous jewelry and artifacts in the Walt Disney Archives from both Disney and Fox films will soon be available to see on display in the new exhibition, All That Glitters, The Crown Jewels of the Walt Disney Archives, at the Bowers Museum in Orange County, California. Premiering December 12th, the entirely new exhibition will feature jewelry, accessories, and costumes from Titanic, my favorite film of all time, including the Heart of the Ocean necklace, The Princess Diaries, live-action versions of Mulan and Aladdin, and more. Advanced ticket sales for All That Glitters will launch to Bower members starting October 1st, and to the general public starting on November 1st. This is the same museum where they had the Walt Disney Archives 50th anniversary display, including the shrink ray from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Now, if anyone from Archives is looking for a new place to hold the shrink ray as they switch over the exhibit, my living room is available. But frankly, I think of the shrink ray as a crown jewel myself, so perhaps it could fit into this new exhibit and just stick around the museum. Either option is reasonable in my book. And now it's time to bring back Kyle Burbank from laughingplace.com, the voice of sanity. Hello, Kyle Burbank. How are you?
The voice of sanity. I like this new billing.
Compared to me. I mean, but, we have to start with a clarification from the last House of Mouse headlines, because I got several messages of people thinking I say that gay days were gross in the Disney parks. That is not what happened. Kyle Burbank brought up Gate A. And this is my fault, my enunciation, my clarification, my speed talk confused people. So totally my fault. But you mentioned Gate A, which perhaps I made an assumption I shouldn't have. Some people may not know that is the cut the line pass that you can purchase at Universal Studios Hollywood for sure. I don't know if it has a different name in Orlando.
Well, it actually has a new name in Hollywood too. So I was using outdated nomenclature. So it's also partially my fault, but I haven't been in that park in a long time. So the last time I went there, and when my friends who worked there would hand me passes behind under the table, they were called Gate A's.
I didn't even know they changed the name, to be honest, here. But in any case, what I said was Gate A is gross, meaning charging to cut the line, I think, is gross. But apparently it sounded like Gay Days is gross, referring to, the gay days that they have in the Disney parks. That is not what I was saying. Gate A is gross. Gay days are fabulous, and that is especially true for listener Daniel Kelly. So thanks so much for pointing this out, folks, and letting me know, and apologies if I offended anybody, but I assure you, gay days are not gross.
Yes, I agree. And what's funny is when you said it on the show, I was like, oh, it kind of sounded like you said gay day, but I didn't think about what we had said up until that point that it would be so problematic.
Yeah, so in any case, that happened. But let's jump into the news, and let's start with Walt Disney World annual pass details are shared. Now, of course, we recently got the news about Disneyland's annual pass program, which is not an annual pass program. It's a Magic Key program, so a membership program. So, there's a lot of information here, but basically, in a nutshell, prices rise, and you're going to need to continue making those reservations, right?
Pretty much. I mean, it seems very similar to the Magic Key, which makes me wonder why they didn't just kind of adopt that naming, because now there's just too many names for everything.
Yeah, it's honestly as if they're trying to confuse people is what it seems like, because there are intelligent people in the company naming these things and making these levels and stuff. So it almost feels like they're trying to confuse people. We've got a Disney Pixie Dust Pass, which is the lowest, and then we have the Disney Pirate Pass and the Disney Sorcerer Pass and a Disney Incredi Pass. So yeah, I mean, it starts like Disneyland, I believe. It starts, the lowest is $3.99, and then the highest is $12.99. And the good thing is all levels get the free parking at Walt Disney World. The bad news is you got to keep doing those reservations, and for some reason, less reservation availability, like the highest levels only allow you 5 passes or 5 reservations at a time, whereas the highest for Disneyland is 6. So it seems weird to me, considering there's literally double the amount of parks to go to in Walt Disney World. I don't understand why it would be less reservations. I feel like they'd be able to spread the wealth a little bit better there.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. Maybe just the logic, because there are 4, maybe they just figure that people have an easier time getting reservations, so they don't need to get them so far in advance. I don't know.
Maybe, I don't know. It's bizarre. Now, I did talk to some friends who have annual passes in Florida, and one friend who he has to get, I think, the highest level because he doesn't live in Florida. So it's very limited. If you are not a Florida resident, you can only get specific passes. I believe it's the top one. And then correct me if I'm wrong, Kyle, it's the top one, right? And then if you're Disney Vacation Club, you can get the top or second to top, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, cool. And so my buddy who has to buy one from out of state, he was like, yeah, it honestly didn't increase that much for me. But then a friend who lives in the Orlando area said, yeah, my pass went up 55% in cost. So it is, funny is not the right word, but it is kind of funny. The passes in Walt Disney World have always been considerably cheaper than Disneyland Resort.
Not always, just for the past several years. When I first got my annual pass for Disneyland, it was way cheaper than Walt Disney World's, and then at some point they just flipped.
Oh, interesting. Huh.
Yeah.
So one of the things, as I mentioned, all of them do get the free parking. So that's great, because that is not a perk that we get here at Disneyland with the passes. They all offer the monthly payments. Once again, it depends on where you live as to whether or not you can take advantage of certain things. But that is the case for most. And then the big difference is the top level passes no longer include water parks and kind of other added benefits like that. Those are now add-ons that you have to pay for. So that's kind of a big deal. I gotta be honest, if I bought the top tier pass, I would want or expect the water parks to be included.
Yeah, I don't know. I think probably more people didn't make use of them, and so now they're kind of paying the same amount but getting less for it. Whereas if they had lowered the price and then made it an add-on, I think you'd see people were a bit more happy because they don't need to be paying for something that they're not using.
Yeah, it's interesting. The other add-on is Disney Photo Pass downloads. That is not going to be included anymore, and you're going to need to add that on as well, which I'm sure for some people, I mean, character photos is a big deal. And I don't know if, I think this may have changed, but remember early COVID days where like cast members would not touch your phone to take a photo because there was the concern of spreading germs through touch, which has pretty much been defunct at this point. But I don't know if they've ever gone back to that. Do you happen to know?
I think that they've reversed on that, but I'm not 100% sure because I'm trying to think if I had a cast member hold. We had tour guides hold our phones. So if they're allowed to do it, I think that would hold true for PhotoPass. But again, not 100% sure. So don't quote me.
I think it honestly may come down to a comfort level of the cast member. I think they may have permission to refuse, but if they feel comfortable with it, they can also do it. So that's where I think we're probably at this point. But, listen, the price keeps going up and up for these things, for all this stuff. There keeps being add-ons. So I'm officially renaming the show Disney Cost to Cost. What do you think, Kyle? Should we do that?
That's pretty clever.
Listen, you
but
can't.
It's with a Z, so I don't know. I'm confused.
Well, now, sorry. Let me clarify. It's Disney with the $sign as the S.
Oh,
cost to
that's
cost.
even better.
Yeah, right?
I mean, we should just do a special year-end roundup called that.
There we go. We'll have to figure something out. But yeah, I don't know. Anything else you want to say about this? I feel like we've just been talking about annual pass and ticket details and add-on details for so long. Of course, all of the specifics you can find over at laughingplace.com, but I think I hit basically the main points of it, yeah?
I think so. And as you were saying about the price increase, I think whatever the Florida discount was, I think that's where the big difference is coming in. Although the renewal rates seem to be a bit better, and I think the renewal counts as when you're switching over from the current pass to the new pass. But again, I'm not 100% sure on that, but I think it's 20% less. So I think that'll also make a difference than what you're seeing at the face value.
Yeah, and I should mention, I talked about the 5 park reservations for the top levels, but, it goes down. It goes down to 4 park reservations and 3 park reservations, depending on the level. Once again, the names Pixie Dust Pass and Pirate Pass and Sorcerer Pass.
I think the Pirate Pass is probably the stupidest sounding one.
I think they all sound stupid. I mean, not stupid.
Credit Pass sounds like.
I mean, they all... Listen, I get the connection to Disney in all cases. There's no telling what pass is better as far as the top level. When you say gold,
right,
silver, platinum, where you stand, and it's not even
obvious hierarchy.
Yeah, and it's not an ego thing. It's more no, this is easier to comprehend. The same way you did A through E tickets. It was an easy thing to understand. This is just not, and part of me really thinks they're trying to confuse us and or not make things clear. I don't understand how that would benefit them, but I can't figure out any other reasoning.
I think they just have a department that is in charge of coming up with names, and they've just been well, we have them here. We better generate some new names for things. We're going to have a Genie. Well, okay, we'll get Genie Plus, and then what do we call this other one? Well, maybe we'll call it Lightning Lane, but that's also the name of the queue, and I don't know what to call it. Well, maybe people will call it Lightning Lane. Let's just go with Lightning Lane.
Let's make it a Lightning McQueen Lane. Oh, boom. He's actually, no, we've seen the signage start going up. I was going to say, he's going to be part of the signage or the, part of Lightning Lane. But have you seen what they've been doing? They've literally been hanging stickers over...
That was only one of them. The other ones look bad. The Small World one looks weird, but the other ones look fine.
Okay,
as far as
the Small World one is the one that I saw, and I was a little bit ooh, what's going on here? That's crazy. In any case, shall we move on?
Yes.
Okay, let's head back to Avengers Campus. Of course, I just did a whole episode about Avengers Campus with your buddy, Mike Mack, who I call Mike and you call Mac, and I enjoyed that episode very much. But we got some more news from Avengers Campus. Shang-Chi and Death Dealer characters are appearing at Avengers Campus. Of course, What's the name of the full name of the movie? Shang-Chi and what?
Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings.
Okay, there we go. So that came out, did very well at the box office for COVID standards, like really, really well.
And for Labor Day standards.
Oh, cool.
Blew away the previous record.
Oh, that's great. So, we have characters at Avengers Campus. We've been seeing this happen, but Avengers Campus is continuing to impress with consistent updates based on the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The latest being new walk-around characters of Shang-Chi and Death Dealer appearing this week. And I will say, one of the most awkward character interactions I've ever seen in my life. Did you see this video?
I heard it was very underwhelming.
It was really awkward, I think is the word. It literally looked like a dude from the balcony, like waving, and I saw somebody tweet, like, it looks like a tourist gained access and is just like walking around up there, and it kind of did. So it was, listen, not the greatest presentation, but still cool that they are introducing these characters. As I mentioned, I'm very excited for Agatha coming to Oogie Boogie Bash in Avengers Campus. I assume that's the location it'll be in, and that's really cool and fascinating. But I do want to touch on something with you that I don't know if we've discussed before, but I just find this whole Avengers Campus, no timeline existing thing so fascinating compared to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge and how they're handling it, and how I genuinely think this was like very purposeful, like let's test this and see how it goes sort of situation. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on there. I think it was intentional, and I think it's been really successful so far. And like you were talking about with Mac, which, by the way, I really enjoyed that episode, even as someone who hasn't been to Avengers Campus yet. But I think you're right as far as the Marvel universe. People are used to this with the Ultimates universe and all of these different timelines and things like that they're already kind of accepting of how these variations, and yeah, there's a continuity, but then there's also, characters die and come back to life on the regular in comic books. So it's not really throwing people off that are fans of Marvel to have just kind of whatever fits.
Yeah, and I think the thing that's even more fascinating, and obviously the thing that I'm sure Disney likes more than anything, is this is just prompting so much social media news about Avengers Campus. Like, I honestly don't know the last time I've really seen anything, not that I spend a ton of time on social media, but like I don't see Galaxy's Edge news popping up constantly the way that I do Avengers Campus, and that is very much because they can keep adding stuff. Like literally pretty much weekly, there's something new going on in Avengers Campus, so there's always something new to tweet about or post about, and that's just not the case with Galaxy's Edge, and I'm sure that that's like a big deal for the Walt Disney Company in their mind.
I think so. I mean, look at the move they've made towards Instagrammable food and merchandise and all that stuff. So I think they do take pride in that social numbers, and that's why everything has those little Twitter icons and all of that. So yeah, I think you're absolutely right. It's an easy way to, and in addition to social media, all the different fan blogs, anytime they do these updates, we're writing about them. So
yeah, so I think it's only a matter of time with Star Wars Galaxy's Edge that it's going to have to happen, I feel like. And I don't know how long it'll be, but I think it's going to have to happen. The only thing that makes it really difficult is Rise of the Resistance, which is very much really stuck in that timeline. That would not be an easy or cheap overhaul if they were like, let's make this. But I guess that could be the thing in that timeline. Like if timeline doesn't matter, if they just get rid of it altogether, that could be like representation of the new trilogy, and other places could represent some older things.
Yeah, and what's kind of weird about Galaxy's Edge in the first place is that they went out of their way and realized, hey, we need to create a new planet because people are going to nitpick if we try to do anything else. But then they still lock themselves in on a timeline. So I guess in hindsight, maybe they would have, I don't know how you go about that, how you incorporate all these different characters in a way that's, that they want to, but then also be like, oh, this doesn't matter. It's not part of the official timeline. But I feel like Star Tours does that. Like there's clips
Star
from all
Tours
9
is all
movies
over
in
the
those.
place, and nobody seems to care. Like Star Tours really, I don't even think George Lucas cares, to be honest. Like he seems pretty lackadaisical. The thing I do find really funny and kind of like crappy, to be honest, is, I mean, when Disney purchased Lucasfilm, all of a sudden Star Wars became sacred, which is a good thing. But I do find it kind of crappy, like, that in the past when they didn't own them, they're like, yeah, we can have Darth Vader break dancing on Star Wars weekends, or Minnie Mouse running around with those, the buns on the side of her head like Princess Leia. So, like, they had fun with Star Wars, I feel like, and then they bought them and they're like, no, this is sacred ground. No more fun. This is serious business. And I kind of want somewhere in the middle, which is completely contradicts the way I normally think about these things. Like, I love specificity. I love taking it seriously. But I don't know. Fun is the word that seems to be lacking when you talk about Galaxy's Edge compared to Avengers Campus. I mean, I'm excited about Agatha. I'm a non-Marvel guy, and I'm excited about something coming to Avengers Campus. I don't know what I'm excited about coming to Galaxy's Edge. Like, everything that's there is there, and I've seen it, and that's great. But I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, I think once they start, I feel like they were going to do more like Life Day stuff.
I think that's
for
coming.
Galaxy's Edge.
It's in the book.
Yeah.
It's in the.
So I think once they figure that out, and then maybe some other like little celebrations and stuff, and then like Mike Celestino's always saying, like, that thing needs more like live entertainment. I think once they get those installed that don't break their sacred timeline, I think that'll help.
Yeah, I think you're right. And like, in the Traveler's Guide to Batuu, they talk about Life Day. I think that that's definitely coming. I think it would be smart of them for like Disney After Hours sorts of events, assuming those are going to continue. I think it would be very smart to drop the timeline then and be like, okay, Galaxy's Edge, after park closes, you're going to get Darth Vader. You're going to get all this other cool. Like, if they did a 90s night, they should totally stick like a young Anakin Skywalker, or, characters are, hey, Jar Jar Binks, right?
Or they just make a Star Wars standalone movie where they do a Marvel thing and make a time travel movie, and then anything's on the table.
There we go. So,
They should do it for the, like you're saying, for Oogie Boogie Bash or some sort of Halloween party. They should do it, like, call it the Time Warp, and then you can play the Rocky Horror song as you walk into Batuu.
Yeah, which they own, of course, now, don't they?
They do. They own
Interesting.
the Time Warp.
So crazy. Anyway, speaking of park changes, let's talk about Walt Disney Studios Park in Disneyland Paris Resort. As of August 27th, the classic Toon Studio area of the Walt Disney Studios Park will be repositioned and renamed to Worlds of Pixar. The back section of the Toon Studio area now includes both Cars attractions, Place de Remy, Crush's Coaster, and Toy Story Playland. This area of Pixar-themed attractions will be renamed Worlds of Pixar, and the existing attractions, Aladdin's Flying Carpet, Animagique Theater, and Animation Celebration, will remain under the Toon Studio name for now. To me, this is super just reminiscent of Pixar Pier. But we still have Paradise Park, kind of, with Jumpin' Jellyfish and Little Mermaid and Goofy Sky School. And it always felt like there was going to be a phase 2 for Pixar Pier, and maybe even a retheme of the Paradise Pier Hotel. But I don't know if... I haven't heard anything about that for a long time. And listen, it was always rumor anyway, but it doesn't seem to be the case. So this just feels very much like that.
I think you're 100% right. Because, yeah, that was a weird one where they're kind of splitting the land and making a new... So it's like new, but it's old, and then there's still the old, and it's new. It's very confusing. But this one, I think, makes a lot of sense. It also kind of makes you realize that a lot of the pieces of that park that we would think of land, like Toy Story... The Toy Story area was kind of like a subland, and still is a subland, instead of being its own thing like it is at Hollywood Studios.
Yeah, because they call it Toy Story Playland, not Toy Story Land. So it's like you said, it's a little subland that exists there. So it's interesting. Now, this new Worlds of Pixar area will include 3 new Instagrammable backdrops, a new selection of Pixar-inspired decorations, as well as themed merchandise kiosks. New Toy Story and Luca shortbreads will be released, as well as exclusive Worlds of Pixar donuts and cupcakes distributed between 4 food kiosks. Disney has also hinted that a Lightning McQueen and Incredibles meet and greet could become permanent roaming characters in the area. So they also seem to be plussing it a bit. Once again, very, very Pixar Pier. So that's cool. I mean, listen, that park, I haven't been, and I'm actually really bummed because I had planned on going in December. I'm going to London to see Back to the Future the musical, and I planned on tagging on Disneyland Paris. And the more I look into like the COVID testing I would need to get to go from London to Paris and back from Paris to London and catch my flight, it's just kind of insane. And so I think I'm dropping the Disneyland Paris portion of my trip, and I'm kind of heartbroken.
Well, the good news is that you probably wouldn't have much to see at that park anyway right now, because as small as it was before, it's even smaller at the moment because that whole section that's going to be Avengers Campus is under construction. So aside from this new Worlds of Pixar, they might as well just call the park Worlds of Pixar at this point, because that's really about all there is. It's kind of sad.
It's nice to see that they're doing like the DCA kind of update sort of thing, right? Like DCA needed help. Now this park needs help. And I applaud them for doing that. That's great that they're investing in that, because from what I've heard, it's like the worst Disney park by far. So anyway, Kyle, that's all I got for the news this week. Anything you want to add before we get going?
Well, as we're talking about Disneyland Paris, they just announced their 30th anniversary celebration will kick off next March. So that's exciting and kind of crazy, because I just was there. I feel like I was just there for the 25th. So apparently I'm aging.
That happened between the 60th and the 65th for Disneyland. I was like, did we not just do that like 60th anniversary 24-hour day, paint the night, spectacular sort of thing? It's crazy how fast 5 years flies these days. So that's cool. So maybe I'll have to go for the 30th. I don't know. We'll have to figure this out. In any case, I think that's it for this week, yeah?
I think so.
Alrighty, Kyle. Well, I'll see you again in a couple weeks with more news.
Bye.
To read more about any and all of the stories you've heard here today, simply visit the show notes link in this episode's description. You've heard the news, and now I want to hear what you have to say about it. What do you think of the way they're handling the timeline situation in Avengers Campus? Share your thoughts on that or any other topics mentioned in today's episode. Call 818-860-2569 and you may just hear yourself on a future episode of Disney Coast to Coast. Last week's episode was all about Avengers Campus from a not-so-big Marvel fan like myself, along with a huge Marvel fan. It was interesting to discuss both sides of fandom in regards to the new land. Next week, it's all about Snow White's Enchanted Wish as we discuss another recent addition to the Disneyland Resort. The easiest way to make sure you don't miss any of the magic is by subscribing to Disney Coast to Coast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Wherever you search, don't forget it's Disney with a Z, Coast to Coast. This episode has been executive produced by Robert Scontrino. Gain rewards like Robert by visiting patreon.com/Disney with a Z, CTC. That link, plus the DCTC hotline and some free gifts from me to you, can all be found in this episode's description. Other than that, folks, have a magical day. Bye!
Thanks for listening to Disney Coast to Coast. Have a magical day.
Disney Coast to Coast is produced and hosted by Jeff DePauli. Learn more about the podcast and become a supporter at DisneyCoastToCoast.com. This podcast is part of the DePodcast Network. Learn more about this show, plus find more quality and entertaining podcasts at DePodcastNetwork.com. That's DEPodcastNetwork.com.